every night I come out here and throw my level on the car and secretly hope that the frame is no longer bent, but that's never the case. So if I'm gonna make any sense of this, I have to make sure that the car is level. Like, that was a mistake I made from the get-go. This really probably isn't the best method, but it's what I'm trying right now. So the car isn't quite level yet. This side's a little low here. Hey, Noah, move away. Come here, come on. Don't want you under there, come on. Girl, yeah, you gotta stay where it's safe. You gotta be safe. You gotta be safe, little girl. Can't turn you into a pancake. I feel like I'm back in school. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or what. These measurements are just not lining up. Got a laser level. Getting serious. No room for errors. Well, that makes things significantly easier. This entire episode might be me jacking up the car and lowering it down and jacking up the car and lowering it down. Do it right or don't do it at all, I guess. I try to enjoy every aspect of working on this car, but I'm getting a little tired of this. You getting tired of it too? Hey, where'd your eyes go? The dilemma with the frame rails, for those of you not up to speed, is they're not running level. Either this one is high, or the passenger side is sitting low, or it's possible that they're both off a little bit in the opposing direction. And we know that the car had impact on this side, which is why I'm assuming this one is high. But it also had a little bit of impact on the passenger side. So this one could potentially be off a little bit. The only way to determine, of course, which one is off, or if they're both off, is to compare them to the original specs, which I have the specs, but before I can run off those measurements, I have to get the car completely level, which has been a little bit of a struggle. So that's what we're doing. But just to let you know what I'm dealing with, let's assume that the passenger side frame rail is fine and where it should be. This rail is sitting 3/4 of an inch to an inch higher than that one over there. So obviously we gotta deal with that. I've said before, my garage floor is not level. So with the laser level, I can actually drop a plumb line or a datum line or whatever you want to call it to get a true level measurement. 5 inches over there. And it's reading over here. 5 inches. This thing's awesome. 5 inches. That is the most level I've had this car. That is the best way to level off a car, at least that I've found, but I'm not exactly an expert. And yet, even with it being level, something is still not adding up here. Alright, so I've done a ton of research, and the general consensus is, if you have a classic Mustang that is in need of frame repair, take these diagrams and get rid of them. Go find somebody with the same car as yours and take the measurements yourself, because the original documentation is not very accurate. So that's neat.
Andrew, Grease Rookie, was on vacation but spent most time doing research on the frame specs for 65 Mustang. What a mess. It seems as though a 100% frame spec diagram for it doesn't exist. Many frustrated people over it. LOL. Yes. I've talked about that. They've got those drawings online, and people will say, "Oh, that's not right." And then there's a variety of things, and I know it gets really frustrating for people whenever they try to copy or go by those measurements, and they're like, "Well, this doesn't even line up." So yeah, it is a big mess. And again, that's why I typically don't try to go by the exact measurements that are given out like that, because it just doesn't work.
I don't know why, but it helps to have your frustrations validated. Joe Daddy's Garage live stream on Monday nights. If you have a classic Mustang and you're not tuning in, you're missing out, because it's a great community, a lot of good information, a lot of fun. So I found a solution to the problem. There's not going to be much work in this episode, by the way. It's now the end of the week, and I spent the entire week trying to remedy this. But I have found a solution, at least my solution. You can go this route or you can go another route. So I was texting my buddy Harvey about this as all this was going on. And he called me and said, "Hey, I remember watching one of Barry's episodes where he was installing one of the full floor pan assemblies in a 66 Mustang. But it turned out that piece is the same piece for the 64 Mustangs through the 68 Mustangs. And this is where my solution might seem dicey to some of you, but this is the route that I'm going. So sure enough, the full floor pan assembly is the same, or it's at least sold as the same for the 65 through 68 Mustangs. The 64 through 68 Mustangs must have at least pretty similar frame dimensions. So Harvey has a 68 or 67, I don't remember. Anyway, and his is already set up and pretty leveled. So he said, "Why don't we take measurements off of my Mustang, and you can take measurements off of the same area, and we will see if we can find anything that's close to matching up." So long story short, he takes measurements from different places off of his Mustang. And it turns out that my measurements off of the passenger side of my car are in dead alignment with his. And that surprised me. And when you compare those measurements to my driver's side, it indicates that my driver's side frame rail is sitting an inch high, which is what we were thinking. So knowing that the car's dimensions are at least pretty similar, and that my passenger side lines up with the dimensions on his Mustang, even though it's a little bit later of a year, and those cars are different to a degree, that for me is enough to say, okay, it is the driver's side frame rail that is high, and I need to lower it an inch, and that's what I'm gonna do. Now, since I know that my passenger side is good and straight, I am going to take measurements and make a diagram and put it up just for anybody that is looking for close measurements and specs for a 65 Mustang. You can choose to go off of them, or you can go another route, but I'm just doing it because it'll at least give somebody a baseline. So how am I going to go about dropping this frame rail an inch? Well, I am going to get into that. I am formulating a plan, but it's been a long week and I'm not going to get into that in this episode. Very frustrating, and you only saw like a tiny part of the amount of, I pulled my hair out a lot. Anyway, that's all I have for this week. We are going to get back into things. Things are going to get rolling again, so I appreciate you guys tuning in. So, all that being said, until the next episode, guys, stay driven.